The pressure I put myself under sometimes cripples me. Thinking about all of my to-dos can make my mind go blank and my heart fall through my gut. I then end up needing to sleep because I can barely function. Yet the rest is poor quality because I start thinking about other things that I need to do. And I've spent way too long of my adult life in this toxic cycle. Does it sound familiar? The problem with ambition is that we don't know our own limits. Our views of success are warped by the society we see around us, especially how we perceive other people to be doing, rather than their actual realities. Through social media, we get to compare ourselves to our role models, but we only ever see their highlights. Rather than working out a sustainable pace of growth for ourselves, we end up chasing these extreme examples. This might lead you to put yourself under the same pressure that I have in the past. You know this isn't healthy. Here are 4 ways that I use to stop myself from being my own worst enemy. First is the Stoic mantra, Memento Mori. Earlier this week, my building was literally on fire. We've got construction work going on, so we've had a lot of false alarms recently. So when the alarm started blaring, I carried on and finished my email, so I spent another 30 seconds rather than go straight outside. Then when I got to the bottom, I could see everybody in a crowd outside, and their phones were pointing upwards. And behind me, there was thick black smoke coming out the side of the building. Luckily, no one was hurt and the damage didn't spread. But even after me, there was about 100 people who came out of the building. So I was in the first 10 or 20 people. As we stood outside and watched the fire service at work, they were amazing, by the way. They got there so quickly, within minutes. I wasn't worried about my possessions at all. I knew that, it would be a nightmare to try to replace everything, to go through all the insurance, all of that kind of stuff. But it just didn't feel important at the time. What I was thinking about is Memento Mori, which means remember you have to die. And I thought to myself, did I nearly risk my life to send out an email, which nobody's going to care about in a week's time? So many of us go through life as if we've got unlimited time, and we put so much pressure on ourselves about tiny little things that genuinely don't matter in the big picture, right? You're not going to remember them when you look at the highlights of your life. It's not going to be, I remember working late for 60-hour weeks for however long, whatever, 80-hour weeks. That doesn't matter really, right? But you're killing yourself for that and using up your precious time. So you have to think, remember you're going to die. So are you spending your time in the way that you would do? Next is choosing your battles. Whenever I fail to achieve my goals, it's almost certainly because I've had too many goals at the same time. I'm a serial offender for deluding myself into believing that I can change everything all at once and have a completely new life. It hasn't worked yet, and it probably never will. If you try to chase too many different things at the same time in different directions, you're just going to end up running in circles. Part of the solution is dropping your ego and admitting that you're incapable of being the best at everything simultaneously. And it's hard to admit, but I can't do it and you can't do it. So we've got to live with that. It's hard when you've got many things that you're passionate about, but the trick is to choose a few of them to really focus on and put your energy in and to try to achieve more and to try to grow, and allow the other ones to just be for fun. And despite what you might see in other people and motivational speakers, you are allowed to do things just for fun without there being an ulterior personal growth motive. Forget having a life purpose. If happiness is really expectations minus reality, then believing in a mythical life purpose is a sure way to be miserable. The idea of it is so seductive, right? Because you can have this magical solution that's going to make all your problems go away. The problem is when you don't have it, that anxiety that comes with, maybe I'm not living my life correctly, what am I doing in my life? And that's way too much pressure to then find something which you enjoy. When I tell people I quit my consulting career to become a writer, they tell me how jealous they are that I found my life purpose. But this is completely nonsense. Writing isn't my life purpose. I enjoy it right now, and while I enjoy it, I'm going to continue doing it. But if in a few years' time I don't enjoy it anymore, I'm going to abandon it in a heartbeat. You've got to remember that your passion is supposed to be serving you, not the other way around. So live in the present. What matters to you right now? What brings you joy? And then act on that. Act on the answers of those questions. And I'm sure you'd be much happier by doing that rather than finding a life purpose for the sake of having one. You really don't have to have your entire life worked out by the end of today. There are 2 ways that you can look at your resources for the day: time and energy. Now, some people will say you have exactly the same 24 hours as Beyonce in the day, so why aren't you achieving your goals? And that kind of forgets that she has $1 billion behind her. She has an entire army of people working for her on all these different things. You can't compare yourselves like that. I don't believe that you can look in the hours in the day and think about how you can squash as much as you possibly can into those hours. Unless you want to be burnt out, of course. What's important is a combination of tasks and how they flow together. And how they flow together is going to be unique to you and the way that you work and the way that you feel at that time. Let's say I can write an article that I'm proud of in 2 hours, and I wait for 16 hours a day, and then take away some time for eating, getting ready, all of that kind of stuff. Technically, I could write 7 articles in a single day, but I've tried that before and I've failed miserably. Because writing is a high energy task. I need to use a lot of my brain to do it, and I can't sustain that intensity for such long periods. Instead, what I do is I mix in low energy tasks in between to allow my mind time to recover, and that makes me feel much better. We can get frustrated with ourselves for losing focus because we think too linearly. We think in terms of time, where it's 2 hours plus 2 hours is 4 hours. But in reality, the energy side of that means that it doesn't work like that. It's not so easy. And then we try to make our zombified brains run on empty. So the final message of this is, give yourself a break.